guess what that is? That there, they are the women who can thank you, that will thank you, will be that grateful that they would give you a standing ovation if they met you and you had only worked with them online, because you've changed their life so much. Everything on the inside of their body, as feelings, as thoughts, as beliefs, as what was true before, that when they were internally suffering, and what is true now when they're not. The women who have had a lot of suffering emotionally on the inside, they will forever be grateful, because you were the last person they needed to see about that. And so these here are women who get this kind of appreciation and thanks from the women they facilitate, this amazing new process, new way, if you will, new psychology for women. So every time they think of you, it'll be because you've impacted their life. But what a lot of people don't understand is when you impact a woman's life, a ripple effect occurs, right? Up to 8,000 people will be directly influenced by her. So if you change how she's interacting, if you change how she's being her, if you bring her to who she was meant to be more than who she's been, then she still was going to interact with those 8,000 people, but the benefits of that, like the transference and the power that, and what, by her being free on the inside, the ripple effect is really different, and that's what we get to see. So just showing you that this can be you. And that was my last live event that I showed up to, and they are transformologists, so they really do appreciate having such a tool, because they themselves are clients too. They themselves have had their own breakthrough, and they are the evidence of it, and they role model that. So imagine, right, a global movement of everyday women able to reduce suffering for women. Ready women, not just every woman. It has to be ready women, because it changes them. You can't, still have one foot in the door. No, I want to suffer. It gives me attention, but they want to not. So for those ready women who've had past life events that are painful, or just been given hand-me-down belief systems, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. Who would wonder what I mean by that? What could be a hand-me-down belief? Meaning you didn't come up with that. What could that be? Find my little comments here. What could be? Hi, Carla. So what could be a hand-me-down belief? Have you ever seen them where you can't quite explain it? So it might be, you might have been raised with better the devil you know than the one you don't. Things like that. So how nice would it be to know our great-great-grandchildren, and I have a great-grandchild, and I can tell you what it does to you when you become a grandmother, let alone a great-grandmother. You understand you have a ripple, and it's already in place. It's already going. It's already passed down part of it anyway. And to get to have access to internal harmony on tap. That's the dream here. That's everything we're doing, is to get this to be known. So it is important work. Everyday women that just are already got what it takes, which is just a really big caring heart, a real good moral compass, and wants to make a significant difference, not just sell stuff, not just do things that don't really stick and last. Like they've got that level of understanding. If I'm going to facilitate it, I want to make sure it's win, 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 win. Up the line, down the line, and where can I most be utilised to do that? So they are the women I'm looking for. Believe it or not, sometimes just, an empty nester looking for something, and then suddenly she comes across this and she goes, holy dooly, this is like the purpose that I could really wear and embody, because I truly do care about women and I want to set them free. And by the way, I happen to need a bit of free setting myself. It is important work, because really, ultimately, life's just too short. We're not meant to suffer like we do, like we think. It's even noble around this world in some, society, because everybody's meant to hate people that have money, for example. Yeah, everybody complains they're broke, but you hate the people who have the money, so on. So why would you be given it? What could you be making happen as well? Because we want to look at your influence, your power, because the sad thing is most people don't use their power, and I don't mean masculine power. I don't mean ruling over people. I'm talking about a power that is in every person as a potential. It's a power where you lead yourself. You're a good human. You want to not cause damage, and you just want to make the world a better place. Dream and see, potential. So yeah, tormenting our own minds like we do, it's normal. You are not unusual. When you beat yourself up, it's just that what you perceive others see of you and think of you is what you then see of yourself, and then you do the same thing they're doing to you, but you do it to yourself. Right? That's what we want to stop. Because it's become the norm, but it's not normal. Because you don't have to. You can just know thyself and know you're a good person, all of that. What if we break the cycle for us as the facilitation people rolling it out? And what if we broke you through, and then what if that's what you do for others? Imagine the ripple effect of women healed and transformed, and even girls maybe when they turn 18, they don't need psychology, they don't need to get that bad. They simply, it doesn't even matter whatever's happened, as horrible as has happened, whatever it is, that there's a way made for her brain and how she works, that she just gets healed and empowered, and it doesn't change the people outside of her, but it puts her in a very, very powerful position of seeing reality. Can't manipulate it then. The only thing, we're all hypnotized to what we think is reality. So moving right along, let me have a quick check-in, see what we're going. Yeah, meaning and rewarding. Absolutely. That's why we don't fit the masculine models we're running with business. There's a simpler way of doing it. When you go just with your grain, then it's not hard. It's almost like you don't have to learn new stuff. It's that easy. You have to get back to all that you are in your actual design, though, which we've been absolutely fooled about and don't know what it is. And that's what we're here to educate. And that's why I'm looking for women who help me educate others on this. I teach you, you teach others. So meaningful, rewarding, absolutely. Consciousness, absolutely. So consciousness also in accountability and responsibility, not just be conscious of only what we want to be conscious of, but actually be truly conscious. Yeah. Alrighty. I will just quickly say I'm an excited person. Is this MLM? I want to clear that up right now. No, it's not. If you're going to think, this is some sort of MLM because she's too happy or she's too excited, it's not normal. We're all meant to be miserable or serious. This is serious work we do here. But seriousness is part of what we actually need to learn, is to lighten up. You get one life. So you will, if you see me passionate, it's just who I am, okay? So yeah, all right. What I do know is lasting transformation. That's what I know inside out, and the psychology of women. So just stay tuned for that. So if you have questions, wait, because I'll very likely cover it.
And, I've been around for the entirety of the Institute of Women. I had my first breakthrough 11 years ago, almost in a month or two. It'll be 11 years since I first cleared the mess that had me bogged down. And from the day that I walked out of that pit, I have had absolute knowing that Creatrix was the real deal, the thing that changed me, that saved me, that healed me, that it works. I guess, you know, I've been around so long and I've had so much experience around Creatrix with Maz, with the Institute, helping women, talking to women, knowing all the women who come through here, and to think that I could have missed that if I hadn't kept stepping up in my growth and excitement to be all that I can be, and to trust that the process is, it's only ever going to do and be and help me in the way that's best for me. So with this being the year of the 10-year anniversary of thousands of women having this, if we all have that faith and that trust, the next 10 years are going to be absolutely phenomenal. Like, I can't even imagine it.
I'm here because I feel like I'm just existing. I'm not actually participating in my life. I'm just going through the motions. It's probably because I've been alone for so long. The sadness and anger and everything else just builds up, and you just start pushing people away. It gets worse and worse and worse, and then you just... It's just so sad. You just go into yourself and you just, I don't know, find this empty place and you just can't get out of it. I want a better life. I want to be happy.
So Maria was childless not by choice, okay? And her heart was just broken, absolutely crushed. The grief was incredible. She became a recluse. She locked herself away in her house. All her friends were having babies, and as much as she wanted to be invited to everything, but, you know, she didn't really fit in because everyone always talked about kids. Then when she would just be so brokenhearted, so depressed. She would lock herself away again, and it reminded her, because when she was a little girl, all Maria wanted to be was a mum. And we're women taking our own emotional well-being into our own hands, and we're liberating ourselves. We're not waiting for a knight in shining armour who's going to arrive with some lab coat on or something like that at the doctor's office, or, you know, as if that's going to happen. So I'll share with you what is happening and what's not happening. This is not discriminating any genders at all, just so you know. And when we talk about this, we will do a history run on what is just facts. I will try and explain a few things, but we are not man haters. We've got sons, grandsons. We want basically harmony on this planet. And we're not, you know, feminists, as that word is tainted with. We simply want to recalibrate women on the inside, and the method is designed for the biological structure that people have not realised has been needed and is missing, and nothing caters to it. So that's all. So it's not for any other reason, right? We just want to, we heal way more relationship, walk off into the sunset, and that would only be because it really, what do you know, it really just was him and he wasn't going to step up. But in most cases, we heal relationships. They're coming together more, the communication's better, the limbic system's working better. You know, they're able to release love more easily and not be in self-preservation mode so much and turning off their emotions and being so just disconnected. So this is about bringing back the natural order of things by resetting women back to their natural innate design that is right there. It's just a matter of unblocking. It's not as if you need to go, we're not forward pacing. We don't go and make you, you know, come into awareness of certain things. You will come into them yourself because of how this works, because it's a self-resolving method, and it works by just needing a facilitator to sit there and know how to guide women to that. That's why you don't need to know what you possibly are afraid that you need to know. You being the person who can take it forward, you need to be out of your way to do that. You need to be out of the way but at the same time loving it, enjoying it, creating a legacy. But if the focus is about you, ironically, this kind of work, legacy work, doesn't work. Legacy work gives you lifestyle as a consequence, as a blessing. You don't have to chase lifestyle. When you create a legacy, and that's your focus is on other people. And ironically, you get rewarded much more for that, because guess what? Clients are other people. So I'll be sharing some female-specific and deep understandings, some in layman's terms as best I can as well. So lasting, healing, and empowerment, okay? That helps, benefits men, women, girls, boys, doesn't matter, everybody. So those of you who stay till the end, okay, we've got a couple of things we're going to do. We're going to give you, you can claim a $1,000 scholarship. So I've just put that into a slide to show how that can benefit you if you love and what we do, and it's something you want to be part of, and you obviously still have to fit within the criteria of the program. So we do screen. There's certain things I'll share what that is too. You'll know everything by the end, basically, that you need to know. You'll get all the program details, all the pricing, everything like that, all the expectations. But 2 lucky ladies are going to have the opportunity to have $2,000, an extra $1,000 off. These are off the seminar pricing, so it's pretty good. Like, the whole idea is because you've bothered, you've already, it's kind of like a task that if you sat through that, you put yourself through enough, not assuming you know everything already, and you were open-minded enough to get through it, you are more likely to get to the end and be freaking wowed as well. Also, you get the chance to get to see not just me with Creatrix in a film festival award-winning documentary called Impact. So you can get to view that as well. So you can all get a ticket to that, or get to be able to go and watch that. I'll give you a link just for the people who are on here live. Now, just quickly, I want to try and get me out of the way, but just try to help you understand how did this come about, because it's within the solution. So if you don't understand, you'll get to the solution and go, yeah, but I don't get that. So I want to show you. So this is my family. I've been alive for these 3 photos. That's 7 of my family. 7 generations. Okay, let me just see. I think I've got another slide that actually, yeah, that's me there. Look, black hair, white hair. So I've known my great-grandmother, and I have a great-granddaughter. Now, that's rare on this planet. 3 5-generation photos with 3 different generations and women, which is very unusual to those. So my story is one of deep generational patterning that was very unconscious, right? So deep, it did look like just being unlucky. And this is what we're going to talk about: epigenetics, family patterns, how, no matter what you do, the more you push against it, the more you create it. Like, that's what people do not know. Okay, so you can be determined to break the cycle, but why? How? Just by deciding that? Is that enough? I was the one who was going to break the cycle. I can tell you now, I was absolutely going to be that person. And guess what? It happened to my children. So I will say to you that from my mess came my message, but it basically absolutely burnt into me as a purpose. And that obsessive compulsive determination is what has led to this being a new way, because it was never going to come from somebody inside the system from a perspective of expertise in what I'm going to show you is questionable expertise in outcome transformation. I'm not saying in, being great stuff, but females just happen to suffer twice the pain physically and emotionally, and you can just Google that. And I've got some Googling to do with you tonight on a few things as well. Many people just don't know about family patterns at all. Because, you know why? Because everybody talks about, well, it can happen to anyone. Yes, and that is so true. And anything can happen to anyone, right, that hasn't been in a bloodline. But the likelihood of it happening that's already in the bloodline is well and truly over 99%. People don't know that. The police know that. Ask them. They know by your last name and your address what to expect. They told me that, and I was blown away. I said, why do you know this? Why don't you tell people this? So that they can see that. And he said, I don't know why they don't, but we just know this stuff. So patterns, that is something they just know what to expect. Why doesn't everyone know? And that's what I want to do. So this is me with my grandy babies. They're my grandchildren. And there's another one on the way. So that's why we do it. Because sometimes if you're young, you don't have children, but you wanted to have children, you might be an auntie. There's something about being a grandparent, or shockingly, as I did, realizing, oh my God, I did not want to pass on the cycle. I stood against it. I fought against all of that stuff. And yet, on my watch, it happened anyway. And then people will say, yeah, but all babies are born, cleaned out, don't have it. No, they're actually born with the predisposition to experience a similar life. Now, that just sounds woo-woo. Bear with me, okay? So anyway, before I was 32 years old, so that between 31 and 32 is when I had an extreme life redirection. So it's not all doomy, gloomy stuff, and I want to tell you this, but where do you see this? Where's your version of this in your family or in people close to you or that you know of, where there's a lot of suffering emotionally, mentally? For me, it was just all I knew was being gaslit. All I knew was being oppressed. All I knew was being told, it's just what men do, go and play. All I was told was, oh, look at your sister. She's beautiful. So it's not direct abuse. It's to cause you to be less than, to feel less than or not good enough and all that. And this is just commonplace. It's just, don't want to make anyone feel horrible feels, but let's get real. Drive up your street. For every third to fifth house it will happen in. And every 1 in 3 of those by more than one person. Now, why mention that as abuse? Well, because it causes something to occur, and that's what I want to talk about. And it's the thing, what it causes to occur ingrains it, if that makes sense. What my mum was told, and look, let me show you her. This is her as a little kid. Look at her, sweet little darling. So inside of every one of us is just a little girl, and we're doing the best we can. But what we don't realise is sometimes we're saying what we were told. We're not questioning it and going, hang on a minute, that's not okay. That's just how it is. For example, girls being told not to hate. Why not? Why are boys allowed to hate? Why not? So we never stop and go, why is that okay? And do something to disrupt the beliefs, the package of belief system. Anyway, yes, of course it happened to my mum. What do you think she was told by her mum? And it absolutely definitely happened to her mum. So, yeah, just understanding that it's patterning. It's not, people who don't experience this particular patterning might have other patterning, like, being bankrupt or poverty. It could be divorce, single mumming, things like that. Attracting certain kinds of people, can be bullying. patterning is patterning is patterning, basically. All right. So for me, it was horrific. Some of the things I experienced. You can see it there. But what do you think the chances are of 4 generations of women having guns at their head? Really, come on. So what is at play? So because our patterning was so strong, it gave me that drive to work it out, whereas a lot of people don't notice the depth of patterning, the predisposition. They rather see it as, oh, well, it's just a trauma response inherited. But it's actually life events that occur similarly too. Like it's not something that makes sense, but it's a thing, and it's got a lot of scientific evidence now as well. There was no self-esteem. You did not speak up. You were, had to be in the corner. You did not ever speak up for that terror in your veins of condemnation, and also not wanting to hurt anyone else just because you were hurt. It doesn't matter what's done to us as women. Sometimes there's nothing we would never, ever do the same or hurt them just because they hurt us. Sometimes we get so bitter and twisted we actually do want to. I'm not even going to talk about this. These are just some of my awards. And, just if you're wondering who the hell am I to say anything. So I turned my life around, went from extreme poverty all the time to being free to earn my own income, from believing I was a chewing gum under men's shoes to actually, being able to stand up for women. That's a long way. And help startups. I've helped startups, turn over more than $35 million, and that was up until 10 years ago. Like, that's not now. If you added what's happened since, I just know that then. So we have trained women in 24 countries now with my solution. But there's also things I teach, like female business and things like that, like really unpack female psychology as well as transformation. Here's somebody, lighten the mood a little bit, somebody that's actually come extremely through using Creatrix from being, similar to me in a way of emotional, real emotional torment.
It's indescribable because it's life-changing. It's absolutely... And it's not just even me, and it's every generation from now on. My children and my grandchildren. It can be free of this shit. And that's a gift you can't put a price on. And that's what she's done. She's given every woman a gift you cannot put a price on. Forever. Long past when Maz goes, long past when all of us go, her gift will just keep on giving and giving. She's a beautiful woman.
Okay, so the whole idea is not to get caught up in the story with them, because who would think that the real solution has no story in it? Okay, so get ready. I am going to explain how it is possible in a minute. So what about you? I want you to tell me, have you noticed where your mess has become your mission? What are you willing to share that you've been through? And you don't have to give any details, but just call it something that makes you driven to ensure or to do your best so that other people don't suffer it. It could be just people pleasing, which is all similar anyway in this big pool of stuff I'm going to share with you in a minute. It really is still all the same. So I was forged with mine when what happened to me happened to my kids. Like, was on my watch. And I was doing everything in my power. It's like, wow, how did that even happen? So the thing is to ask the right questions without belief systems that are limiting and say, hang on a minute, I had been around for so long and realised so much that I knew others didn't. And it was like when I'd bring people into awareness, they wouldn't even know it. They're like, oh, is that a thing? I'm like, oh my gosh, it is all around you, all everywhere. Like, so I'm going to show you exactly how it leads to the cycle and the continuation and many problems associated that people don't realize are associated. And people have one vision of it, of, let's say, DV. Oh, yeah, I get it. They're over there. Because you aren't feeling it and maybe haven't been through it, the empathy's not there. These people, to break their cycle, the very first step is empathy. You know, in Japan, in schools, they teach very young children how to do empathy, because some people have not had that because they didn't suffer it, but they also didn't, know even that feel as bad as it does to the people experiencing it. Yeah, the stages of life, absolutely. Yep, that's right. Okay, so we've got, there's women in here definitely that do have a purpose, and from your mess can come a very strong message, because what are experts anyway? Like, what gives them the right to just know how brains work and then make assumptions? So every one of us are different, and pain is felt differently with different people, and a lack of emotions is either an entitlement-y thing, not having experience, not understanding or doing empathy to try to understand it, or it's the turning off of their own emotions for some reason, self-preservation, protection, or whatever. The older you get and the more generations you have, the more you actually just see it. It's like crystal clear, the patterning. This is me here holding my great-granddaughter on the right. That is me in the middle. So I was a barmaid, a waitress, and a checkout chick, right? Not to talk down to any of those, but that is what I call myself. And that on the left is the little girl that was treated so poorly and unloved and all of this stuff, unwanted, who experienced a lot of things that she should not have had to. And then she grew up to go on then and experience adult abuses as well, doing the best she could, ending up a single mother of 4 children. If you look in the mirror and the pupils, you're 100%, she's still there. She didn't go on anywhere, So she's right there, right? And you are the gatekeeper of if she gets to experience or feel love or not, believe it or not. Now, that's not what a lot of women want to hear. It's not my fault. We're going to go there too tonight, because we really are going to go there. I was kicked in the head, steel cut boots, and I can tell you now, once I understood family pattern, I realised he also was running his. Okay, so the understanding and then the responsibility that, all right, 4 things to change what must occur, and that's what had to happen. Your little girl, you can adopt her, love her, right? Absolutely, especially if no one else has. Like, you can make it up to her. But it's not easy. It's all right to tell you that, isn't it? You're not lost. You didn't go anywhere. Be kind to yourself, okay? Something happened to me, and I want to share what happened to me that happens not just to me, but to people who actually turn their life completely around. And that is, there's a wake-up call moment. What is that thing? So that took me from breaking my entire generational cycle. What happened in a single moment? And wake-up call. Maybe comment if you know anyone that's had a wake-up call, whether you've had wake-up calls. We can have little ones along our life. I had one, but the timing of it is what was important, because it's the timing of being ready and stepping up and saying, I'm done. I'm going to change this. So going off in business, right, blitzing it, all of the great stuff, right, business. Suddenly, I realised certain things happened, okay? I realised what didn't happen. Now, this is important. I didn't meditate. I didn't set goals. I didn't become just positive. I certainly didn't compartmentalize. My brain doesn't work that way. I didn't have a plan either. It wasn't a course like full of knowledge or something like that did it. It was not help. There was no help. It wasn't being shown how either. It wasn't therapy. It was not learning one thing from anyone outside of myself. Now, this is big. It's not to say we don't learn great stuff from people all the time. I'm talking to break a cycle within, okay? I also didn't have to become someone I wasn't. So that's important, right? I didn't use a modality like NLP, timeline therapy, hypnosis, all of these things, you know, EFT and every other thing that ends in T. And I didn't do them. I didn't do anything like that. And this is the thing. All right. This is the model we're taught, isn't it? To change your life, you get a life coach, or you go and get therapy, or you go to a positive psychology person, and you're told to do. You have to do this differently. You have to do that. You have to do, right? And that's when you get to have love, success, whatever. And that's when you'll get to be successful, be happy, be at peace, be valued, be respected, and all of the stuff. What I realized was how hard it was for the thousands of women that I was training, as well as thousands of leaders, and on 5 continents I was traveling and training and teaching. So it's not this. This is the masculine universal taught system. I even wrote a book on it because I thought, but you know, it's very hard to admit to yourself that you don't do what you teach, because everyone's telling you, don't tell anyone that, because you must be doing it wrong then, because this is how it's done. It's never questioned. So every success book of all time, the greats are all written by men. So that's okay. It's just that they assumed all are the same. And that's, you know, and that the brain functions and motivates and has the kinds of hormones in it that cause that to be a thing, a way that we could do it ourselves. So we're all striving. So we, you know, the whole planet is running pretty much this model, right? If you want to be successful at anything. So this is the typical institutional model, right? It's, you know this, it's goal setting and all of the stuff. That's never ever questioned. It's the way to achieve, okay? My realization was that, hang on a second, I wasn't doing any of it, and yet I was blitzing and doing better than everyone around me. How was that even possible? So, you know, it's understanding that this is perfect for the masculine brain. So your brain is wired to your uterus, ladies. It just is. It's wired to your uterus. And hormones are the fuel, right? So to assume that all of that's going to work with you is to not understand just our biology. And you would be extremely forgiven for that, because guess what? No experts know it either, right? So what's coming out of all of this? Well, what does work, okay? And what I did realize. So it's not easy to grasp. So what did I actually learn though? So at this point, we're talking 20 years in. We're talking being able to see the data of startups up to 10,000 on a spreadsheet, month in and month out. We could predict, sadly, okay? And what I was seeing, because I've conducted over 830 live women's events, right, over that time. The psychology of women does not change with the internet, with digital, with AI. The psychology of women, it can be manipulated, but at the end of the day, we are what we are, not we are who we are. That changes. You can change all that, okay? So, interestingly, I was always called a fluke, almost like put down, and yet I was having to train the people who couldn't do it, who were running the male models. Like, why? How is that even possible? They said, don't tell anyone, you're just a fluke. So that is a gaslighting done innocently. You're a fluke, you're less than, you're not good enough, okay? But you must teach what is right and is expert, and they know more than you. Who do you think you are? So this was the typical thing that I bought into. It's really easy, isn't it, ladies, to just buy into it. Well, if they think that, it might be true, and I'm an accountable person, so I'm going to believe you and ask, how can I be better? How can I be better? So that's how women can end up also probably being very successful, but pulling back when they suddenly feel less than, that they're not doing it good enough. And yet they had it all along, but they couldn't understand what the formula was that they were doing. So this moment happened to me. I was on this trip overseas, and I'm sailing the Rhine River, sipping my with a bunch of girls. And I turned around to them because I was going, why do so many people fail? And they said, Maz, why do you care? Can you just enjoy your own stuff that you earn? I'm like, well, not really anymore, because I actually don't. 10 years in or whatever it was, and I'm like, yeah, good, okay, I've experienced money, endless, do what I want, money's not a problem, no more abusive men, all of that stuff. Yep, okay, great, experience the other side. But I had been on the other side for so long that my heart was for them. It was not for these people who, just only wanted that. So that's what led to, and I want to share with you now, right, the research mode that happened from that. It all sounds like it's someone else's story, right? But it's not. It's every woman's story, or it leads to a deep, oh my God, okay? It mightn't be what you want. You might want me to give you the 7 steps quick here, just gimme, I'll run away and it's going to make me successful or, be better. But that's not what you need, even though it's what you want. The research was ridiculous. I did walk away. I walked away from $27,000 a month and helping all these women, but the pressure of having to teach what I wasn't doing was making me no longer feel congruent, and I had a problem to solve. Why was personal development so awesome but not sticking? Why didn't they change like I did? And I'm only sharing with you, at this point I didn't know what it was. So that's why it's not in here. It makes no sense. When you look at research, I think it's 22% or something of actual research dollars goes to women, and yet between 52 and 55% of all psychologists and psychiatrists are actually female. However, when they put their reports, their white papers up for citations, there's no one to citate them because they're choosing female issues. No one wants to do it, and there's no one to do it. So they do not get the citations. It's something like 20% or something like that get through, which is sad because the rest get through. There's peers and they're talking about as if everything's won. But the women are learning and realizing and wanting to talk about that. There is a hierarchy here, look, in the scientific community, whether you like it or not. Yes, there are equal numbers of women in there. There is not equal numbers in change because of it. That's the truth. I was so shocked. I'm like, surely. I'm not trying to depress anyone because we do have a solution, right? Some of them are waking up, but how is that, creating the change? The questions that came from the research was actually bringing me more questions instead, like further away from what I thought might have been a simple thing to do. What did come out of it though was, oh my gosh, my family patterns was everyone. It wasn't just me. So those women are trying to prop up all the time in business, like prop up, constant revert, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. So where did everything we know originate? Everything. So, for example, when I ordered the DSM-5, the Psychology Bible, I'm like, all right, before I dare read this, I want to know who wrote it. So then I went and looked, okay, so 12 men and 1 woman. So where did she get her training from? The men. Then I'm like, all right, so what is everything founded on? What do they know for sure 100%, and what are their beliefs? And that's when it dawned on me, oh my God, they call them the grandfathers of psychology because they are men. So I don't know if you heard of Wilhelm Wundt, who actually is that grandfather of psychology. There he is. Well-meaning man, I'm sure. Mostly worked on women, as they did when they started developing psychology and mental wards and, mental institutions and so on. But, crazy history, ladies, like really, really crazy that everything's built on top of that, okay? So these are the brains here. There they are. There's the males who every single thing we believe in this industry about how minds work came from them. And then on top of that, so everybody wrote books who studied these theories, and it went from that to that to that to that to that. Now that's, a lot of people are like, oh, that's just silly. Well, it's actually just fact. It just is what it is. I saw an interview on an annual Psychiatric Association conference in 2012. So the president at the time was John Oldham, and they were at a conference in Austria, and he was on TV, and he was interviewed, and the interviewer asked him, so how do you know mental illness exists? Like, how do you create these? How come the book's growing of psychological illness? He said, oh, well, every time we get given a list of symptoms that are the same at least 500 times, we assign it a name. And then we send that to the labs and we say, this is the cluster symptoms. How do we stop the symptoms from existing? Not what causes it. Never asked. It's not asked. It's not a question. And could there be anything other than going to a lab? No. Even on Insight, all of the psychologists, and in the end she got the psychiatrist, I think the American president was, or something like that, said, what needs to happen for this crisis? And she said, we need to heal somehow the emotional connection. I'm like, duh, doing it every day. And, obviously don't fit within that system of respect because they know it all. So, they only know what they know, and they have a way of valuing intelligence, and it's only one sort of intelligence that gets assigned value. So anyway, so that's interesting. Don't you find that interesting? Just symptom clusters, right? And he was also asked at that conference, how do you know? Where's the evidence? He said, well, why is this the only area of any medicine that does no test? And he's like, well, so that means all mental illness is the perception of human to human, or human self. Because the symptoms must be told, and that's it. So this is why you see, narcissists manipulating their own psychiatrists so that she's still wrong, So, yeah. So when you combine no help's coming, no one's realised there's a problem, then you look at, well, epigenetics is what they have discovered, but they're looking, oh my God, they are looking at 50% egg, 50% sperm, gives you a whole blueprint, and then the blueprint is the human 50-50. That could not be right, and it only takes common sense to work this one out. It cannot be right because of the female factor, which I'll show you in a sec, okay? So if epigenetics is true, and they certainly have evidence, they even have evidence now, up to 14 generations in, I think, silkworms and whatever, you got to have something that can turn over that quick to have the evidence, but it's where they do have the evidence, life cycles, generations that turn over very quickly, it's there. I mean, even on Current Affair, there was a little boy who had a particular cancer that the only exposure was 4 generations back. There had been none since. So can things, play out even more later? Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, absolutely. So did you know? That's right. Women were weighed because of a belief. You see, they needed something to blame for the weather. Why people's children might die at birth, it must be a curse. If the weather and the crops, superstition, and then the patriarchy capitalised on that as a really good reason to knock off a lot of women. 15% of witches were male, called witches. There's no evidence of a witch even exists, right? You got to understand. So anyway, yes. So they set up these weighing stations that would weigh like cattle and weigh, seeds and whatever in these little towns set up all over. They went nuts in Europe and they set up these weighing stations and they weighed women. I mean, what terror would there be if you could possibly be weighed and consider under what they said, men said was a weight of somebody living, too bad if you're really, really poor and couldn't eat and you were shown to lose weight, because they would go, she's living on herbs, she must be a witch. And you could be just killed right there in front of your family. Or said, what terror would that be about being a woman? Wouldn't it be just being afraid you're even a woman? Craziness. What about weight issues now and eating disorders? I mean, could it be that when women get to goal weight, they can't understand why they flick and sabotage themselves and feel a sense of, oh my God, I've got this desperate thing to go and eat and get fatter and then be calm again, but not happy in herself. So I don't know. I could be full of shit with that, absolutely. But just, it's, all of this does make sense, doesn't it? So who's feeling this? Who's motivated by it? Yes, so are we the change? Let me get my little notes here. Okay. What if then we stop waiting to be saved? What if we actually could do this ourselves? Okay, so maybe we're actually what we've been waiting for, rather than thinking that we need to be saved in the first place. Because if it's not gettable, it's not gettable. If it's not fathomable, it's not fathomable. So then we just need to understand that we can step in with the right tools, the right ownership. We can seize the power of just what we have and get at least equilibrium back on the inside, so they don't have to try and fix us when they haven't yet noticed the problem and will probably argue about it because they don't fathom it. So that's the thing. All right. So then, all right, just, let's have a little quick talk about what you are taught. So you are taught personal development to believe in yourself, aren't you? So that's all well and good. Some of you could have read, I don't know, 1,000 self-help books. So, and be so helped that that it has helped majorly. But there's still this thing where, although you're supposed to be that you are worthy, that you are enough, being consistent, just believe in yourself, silly, you've been told by your husband every day for 3 years in a row, every single morning, you're beautiful. Does it mean you completely know that to be true now? That's what I'm talking about. So, or is it that you should, and you even say to yourself things like, put myself on camera here if I can, there we go, even things like defending that you're that empowered, that you know those things. But my question is, do you know it? That's the thing. Do you know you're worthy to the degree that it's not words you have to put in front, I believe? Because if you still are at, well, it's a belief, there's more. Because when you come into knowing it, everything leaves your head that is keeping it a belief. Okay? So that's good. That's what we've got to work on, because we need to make sure it does. It's like all of the self-help personal development therapies, brilliant stuff. I mean, really great stuff. I mean, I wrote books too on it. All great. If we didn't work the way we work. So it's like it's all sandwiches, but we've got glad wrap over our mouth. Yes, I know, but there's still this hunger that's not being fed. There's still this something missing. There's a ton of innovation out there, isn't there? But I want to ask you, how much in certain areas? So if somebody's trying to be an innovator, to look for a new, better way, if they learnt in schools where wheels were the main way you achieve something, then everything in their perception seeking answers will be from within the box of wheels. And that's the problem, is what I'm trying to say. So what's really changed? I mean, I won't even go on about the duck bill. It's never, that they use for women gynecology, where that come from, or the fact that it hasn't been innovated. But at least it is good now that they're at least disposable, I suppose. So yes, it's why do we not ever ask or even notice this vein, that we run with a vein and that's it? That's the vein, that's the innovation's allowed within that vein. I literally was just my mum, she was her mum, and so on. So the female I want to talk about in a minute. But did you know, only a very short while ago, 6 generations, like I said, I've known 7. So my granddaughter, if that were me at that age, looking back, 5 generations, 6 generations ago, and our generations are only 20 years, most family generations are 30, that a marriage license was a bill of sale. And you can argue and think that's feminism to even say such as, it's just fact. Okay, and it was so that the seed could be passed on, a man's seed could be passed on, and this was the way they could ensure it. So they would, sign that agreement with her and so on, and their name passed on. But so understanding that is not very long ago. In the whole grand scheme of things, epigenetically, that's just yesterday. Okay, a bloodline is a bloodline that, yes, one person gets to be alive in it and experiencing it at a time, all right? Or a few together, but, right, just if you can see it that way, that each generation is a little blip, then you'll see we're not that different from these times if you were to question yourself and say, why do I feel such terror, at times? Why am I so unsafe? Well, that if you really think about it, this is not very long ago at all. So if they went through these things, the trauma that happens because you're female. So I know everybody goes, but, we're equal now and women are empowered now. But I want to ask you this, because do men ever understand? They don't have to, or do they? I don't know. But the perception of what it must be like to be the weaker sex. Now, I'm talking about physically weaker. I'm talking about smaller. So it wouldn't even matter if you were empowered. You'd be very naive to think, a man over there, if he wanted to, couldn't call upon his muscles that tighten a bit differently to ours to cause more strength. Let's just get with the program. That the only way they could ever know is if bigger, stronger beasts roam the world. They will never get it otherwise. And they had to love them and give them what they want. And because, it's true that, you go on dating as a woman, meet a man online. You are thinking, will I live tonight? He's thinking, what's she like? So that's quite a thing. That's a big difference. We can deny it, we can whatever. But it is riskier being a woman. It's riskier to safety. Her nervous systems become so, from history then, where it has been abused, right? And that hypervigilance, we've come away from trusting our gut is got our back. Our gut is already there. Our gut will take care of us. We don't need to use this frontal little brain. So evolutionary-wise, don't know what you're into, but if you understand evolution, believe it or not believe it, whatever, they say that we have 3 brains, regions, that the oldest sits on the top of the spine, right? And that's your instinctual brain, wired all through your nervous system into all that you are, connected to every single thing. And that is instinct. Gut instinct, the same as, if you're walking along a path and you think you see a snake, you instantly, your body communicates, right, and sends all the blood out into the extremities of all the organs, sucked out in a millisecond. And as that's happening, it's releasing and releasing adrenaline, adrenaline and cortisols and, those corticotropic blends. And they are stress hormones. And what that causes, that response could be any stress response. Any of the stress responses could be triggered in that moment. But you do release the exact same proportion, even if it turns out to be a stick. Your body, while you are perceiving it's a snake, it may as well be. And my question is, while we're perceiving what, we've, throughout history, has happened, and seeing through such terror, such, even to the degree, like, if you were deemed a witch, they would torture you until you dobbed in another one, because they were said to never be alone. So over those 300 years of doing that, women also ended up buying into it and were throwing each other under the bus. Because they, for survival, oh, well, at least I don't have to die alone. And so then they turned women on each other as well. So then you have all of that stuff in there. It's all stuff, isn't it? Interesting. I find it very interesting anyway. So, yeah, the foundations that everything's built on, I don't know, if you go and have a look, you know, everything from family constellations to, you know, coaching, all coaching methods, all business, NLP, men, you know, businessmen, psychology men, medicine men, expert science. Yes, women are standing there, but are they? Are they even aware? So, yeah, that's all that means. All that means, if you truly get it, is that we can do this ourselves maybe. Maybe we don't need it to be that way. Okay. So, all right. Help's not coming anytime soon. Okay. In the redesigns of methods, the redesigning of stuff to fit our neurobiology, body. So let me just see if these slides are coming. Oh, they're coming up now. What I was about to say, so I will wait. There are no peers to review this. Can I say that? They can't fathom it, even the women. But what we're getting is phenomenal. And we just need to get it out there because we can't rely on approval, right? As far as safety goes, this is 1,000 times more safe than talk therapy as well. Just basic talk therapy's way more unsafe than this because that's a part of the design. So
we're going to start discussing men's brains, women's brains, and how they're very different from each other. Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right? Now, men's brains are very unique. Men's brains are made up of little boxes. And we have a box for everything. We've got a box for the car. We've got a box for the money. We've got a box for the job. We've got a box for you. We've got a box for the kids. We've got a box for your mother somewhere in the basement. We got boxes everywhere. And the rule is the boxes don't touch. When a man discusses a particular subject, we go to that particular box, we pull that box out, we open the box, we discuss only what is in that box. All right? And then we close the box and put it away, being very, very careful not to touch any other boxes.
I just wanted to quickly check if everyone had the sound.
Sorry, my Catholic upbringing got in there for a minute, but I
jump over this. See if I can quickly grab myself.
I'm not a Catholic, but I went to Catholic school when I was little.
Did everybody
I had a nun
lose
who
sound?
taught on hell like she was born and
That's what I
raised
need
there.
to know.
I mean, I'll never
Everybody
forget.
lost sound.
It did me good, actually.
Okay.
It was a good thing.
Still no sound. All right, well, we won't do that. But look, Mark Gungwa, he always teaches.
Now, women's brains are very, very different
He
from men's
teaches
brains.
thousands of
Women's
people
brains are
at a
made up of a
time,
big
men and women
ball
in
of
his
wire.
audiences, and
And
they
every
laugh at the
It's
brain
connected
difference.
to
Men have all
everything.
little boxes, and a box for the mother-in-law, and a box
Money's
for the
connected
kids,
to
and
the
a
car,
box
the
for the
car's connected
wife.
to your job, and
Now,
your kids are
think
connected to
compartments,
your
right?
Everything's connected to
Everything's
everything.
compartment. Close the box, open the next box. That's what he says how men are. And he talks about the nothing box that they absolutely love.
It's
Sit
like
on
the
the
internet
couch with the remote
superhighway.
control. Go fishing.
And it's all
Just
driven
sit
by
there.
energy
And he
that
says,
we call
and
emotion.
you know, that's the natural way men de-stress. Nothing in their brain, and he jokes,
It's one
and
of
the
the
women laugh
reasons
that,
why
and the men
women
laugh that.
tend to
She can't
remember
not think.
everything.
But she's thinking about all the time, all the time, all the time.
Because
And so,
if you take an
yes, that
event and you
oldest
connect
brain,
it
the
to an
midbrain
emotion,
being the
it
emotion
burns in your memory
brain,
and
the
you can
bonding
remember it
of the
forever.
female, and then
The
this
same thing happens
frontal
for men.
lobe.
It just doesn't happen very often
We've come
because, quite
to
frankly,
put
we don't
too much
care.
emphasis on the frontal lobe. As females, we're meant to be here and trust this. But we're using this frontal, newest one,
Women
only 1 million
tend to
year
care
old
about
brain. This one,
everything.
4 million. This one, 1 to 3, to
And she just loves it.
how we're being in this world. We're not meant to be like that. We're meant to be very unconscious.
Okay.
And then we will be led, and then we will be free of the stress, because the
Now, men,
nervous
we have a
system's got our
box in our
back.
brain
It
that
knows
most
how
women
to
are not
work.
aware
It's
of.
just that the
This particular
antenna
box
is
has
rusty
nothing in it.
of our intuitive antenna. And we read things wrong. Oh, it's it's me or whatever. It's not them. Oh, they're a good person. But they do certain things. Is everyone caught up
In
now?
fact, we call it the
I
nothing
thought it
box.
was just a comedy show. It is a comedy show.
And of
you know
all
what?
the boxes
You
a
know
man
what,
has
Rachel?
in his brain,
They
The nothing
were
box
allowed to
is our
laugh
favorite box.
at the sex difference if it's a comedy show. We're not allowed, though,
If a man has a
to
chance,
take it
he'll
seriously.
go to his nothing box
that
every
it
time.
relates to mental health. It relates
That's
to how
why a
we're
man
doing
can do
this
something
life,
seemingly completely
humaning.
brain dead for hours on end.
None of those
You know,
questions
like
come out
fishing.
of it. That's the irony of that. That he can have thousands of people in the audience. They all know we're different. Everyone knows we're different. Everyone knows. The secret is knowing how we're different. And what I've discovered is it's not complicated, and we're not crazy.
And we
There's
love it.
good
That's
reason
why a guy
why.
can sit in front of a TV and go,
See, it's just not being considered. So, let's see what else. Let me just see this here. Keynote. It's not picking up the keynote now.
it glows. Of course, this drives our wives nuts because they'll come up and say,
Okay, I
"Stop
get it
it!
now. I thought it was just one
You
there.
can't possibly
All right, bear
be
with
watching
me.
anything!" I'm not. Go away. Now, they've actually measured this. The University of Pennsylvania a couple of years ago did a study and discovered that men have the ability to think about absolutely nothing and still breathe. You know, they connected all the wires and stuff like that and watched the brain activity, then all of a sudden, I think he's dead. Huh? You know, women can't do it. They can't do it. Their minds never stop. And they don't understand the nothing box. And it drives them crazy. Nothing drives a woman more crazy or makes her feel more irritated than to witness a man doing nothing.
So, look at this. we know the sperm and the egg come together, form one blueprint, and then that one cell becomes up to 100 trillion that knows be a liver, be kidney, be a vascular, whatever, right, brain, heart, whatever, okay, and this is how you're going to work, okay? You don't need to do what I'm doing, you do what you're supposed to do, and blah, 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 whatever. And it knows also, put the knobby knees in. Come on, we're from this bloodline's got knobby knees in it. Make sure they've got freckles. Well, make sure also it's got the same predisposition story. Make sure it's the same things that are sort of going to happen to keep the self being the self, because the self is genetically and epigenetic. So epigenetics mean an instruction told to the gene on how to express itself. Be healthy, be unhealthy. Cause this, don't, cause something else. So it's an interesting science. But what I'm saying here is women have a much bigger power. This is our power right here. So you were an egg inside your mother while she was inside her mother for 4 to 5 months, being fed by your grandmother's umbilical with direct stresses affecting there. So this is how you're very tied into the bloodline, undeniably, because your unconscious mind is the one that creates bloodlines, so it must understand them. And so that means whatever your grandmother experienced, you basically got the stress of in the through the umbilical into the cell development, into your flesh, into what will become flesh. So that's, you could say, well, it doesn't matter, there's no proof. It may not matter. But what does is the fact that we've made something built it on the premise of this stuff, and blow me down if it doesn't work exactly like you would have thought it would because of these things, breaking those patterns. So that's what I'm getting to, obviously. But try and see the bigger picture, that it's not silly. It makes more sense, right? So then a lot of the stuff we're told, don't know. But yeah, so on the left here, that's what we've got, right? So that means you've got your mother's stress when she was pregnant. You've got your grandmother's stresses, more so because of this. So tell me this. If you do any personal development, any therapy work, and it doesn't respect what does know this, like the engine room of our uterus, we're not just conscious. You don't sit there and go, well, I have to goal set this baby and work my plan my work my plan, compartmentalise. I can't do it all today. No. Outside of your awareness, without breaking a fingernail, nothing, a baby is created. So is there a part that's wiser than you? That knows all of this, that men would never know, because they never had to need it, did they? Why would they need this program? Why would they need this level of unconsciousness? Why? If it's not ever needed. That makes sense as to why Oprah Winfrey, about 10 years ago, on her show, got a head scientist, and they went head to head. And she goes, why don't you test on females? And he said, because you can't. Like the cycle. He was adamant, and they never got an answer. Every time she said, but you need to, he said, but you can't. That was it. There was no solution, but you can't. You could not get through to that man that there could be another way than the only way they knew, which was measuring in the devices that they had to measure in. So, okay, could you have, what about that unconscious realm of information? Superconscious, conscious, unconscious. Conscious is being aware in the moment of reality. That's conscious. Being aware of what is happening with you in this moment. And you can only activate full consciousness for no longer than 5 minutes of any 24 hours. So what is running you? What's making that baby be of this bloodline? What's turning one cell into up to 100 trillion with different jobs to do? What's putting in there the predisposition? So we do know it can change. That's what's great. Epigenetics is like, woo, it means we're not our DNA. It means we can change. But how in a lasting manner is the real question. So let's keep going, because guess what? Your DNA isn't your destiny. It's really the message. So they do know. Like, look at this. That Time magazine's quite old. I remember getting that when it was in the shops. And so, these magazines, they know it's not me. I'm not saying this. And you will see what I see happening in the personal development world is they don't get it. They say, we're changing beliefs, so we're changing epigenetics. If I change your belief today, just your belief, then you've epigenetically broken the pattern. That's nowhere near enough. What about the perceptions of self within that moment? What about the perceptions of others in that moment? What about the perception of the whole world? What about the perception of all of my future? That's a package of perceptions. What about my beliefs? What about my thoughts? There's a package. If you're just only going for just the belief and a reframe on the belief, that is what? Well, which reframe are you going to have? Are you going to have how you're seeing yourself in that moment? Is that therapy about framing how you see other people in that moment? Is that therapy pure? Is the facilitator not giving an ounce of their opinion from their belief system? So, yeah, there's more to it. And I'm just saying what runs us 23 point whatever hours a day is unconscious. Could it, that runs the program, be where we just tap in there but consciously? Because if you don't know it happened, so number one, you have to consciously make a decision to change and give it permission. And it's not this is not hypnotherapy, this is unhypnotherapy, because we're hypnotized to totally be buy into our own belief system. So we've got to unweb ourselves from the ancestral, heal the stuff so that we're no longer predisposed to have to go through that thing to carry forth and be of that bloodline. So, yeah. And this is why we do it. We do it for these little folks. We do it because who is going to? If no one's caring enough to go there, who is going to help them? We could just let it keep going. Sure. Which is, we're doing the best we can to help them, aren't we? Especially as mums, aunties, nanas, and whatever. Like we're doing the best we can. And doesn't mean we're failing, doesn't mean we're bad, none of that stuff. But the best news is they're not destined just because we were and didn't know how to break that cycle more than by just pushing against it. What you resist persists. Anyone notice that? The more, because you're adding, I was adding anger, I was angry. I was angry at what had been done to me. I'm like, who do you think you are? Like, you don't do that. That's not okay. You don't do that. You're not going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to etch to protect. And so the fear, the protection, the anger, the, payback stuff, all of the stuff we go through is just all, doing the best we can. So there's no blame, nothing. This isn't about any of that stuff. It's about the future. Just because it was doesn't mean it should be. Just because we've been doing it that way doesn't mean we just keep doing it that way. We're independent decision-making, autonomous beings. It's one of the privileges of being a human. It's making choice. And for some humans, feeling responsible if you could make that change while you're alive. So our very nature, our original natural design, okay, if we could see the root system as being all of ancestors and our bloodline, how we know we're of the blood of this bloodline, what has history done then in that keeping us good girls, if you will? This is how you be a girl, or this will happen to you, or you're bad, or you're wrong. So being made wrong, history has a lot to answer for, and I don't want it repeating. Even I'm happy for the good bits, obviously, but this stuff has to stop. Now we do this to ourselves as well. So the byproduct, even as we're changing, as we're becoming empowered, could we be shoving our root system into what should be to be a good girl, expected fear that I better look good on the outside. Look at my beautiful branches. I'm just perfect. So therefore, you'll like me. You won't reject me. You'll leave me alone. You won't hurt me because I'm being a good girl. Is this making sense? So suppression, oppression, repression. So oppression from history is other people pushing us down. We're gaslit by society, each other, and ourselves to ourselves. But history gaslit us already. You already inherited less than and not good enough. But we do it to each other still, and we do it to ourselves, and it's got to stop. It has to stop. And then how can it stop? By healing it. Suddenly you see it for what it is. And then you can deal with it, because the fear and all of the fear of being abandoned, left alone, because when you're stuck, it's hard to hear this, because you'll go, yeah, right, but still they could leave me if I spoke up. But actually, when you get the wisdoms that come through with something like Creatrix is just an education method. It's just a university where every woman can go, or if you want a school where every woman can go and just allow self to undo itself. It's now picked up the missed lessons from history. Okay, but this here, when we're really this, is the problem. See, we need to change in here. If we change in here, everything changes. Did you know the irony? And this is why people who see Creatrix online, they're going, oh, there's got to be something going on here because it can't work like that. And then when people experience it for themselves, they're like, hang on, I wasn't even in that story. How come I'm now different? How come I feel different? How come my problem's not there? But we didn't even go near my problem. Oh, my God. And that's that. I don't know if you see any of our stuff. Oh, big thunder. I don't know if you see any of that stuff online, but our stuff. But there's these silent moments when a woman first opens her eyes, because she's not opening her eyes because she's hypnotised. We're not telling us anything. She's focused to get the job done. There's a job she has to do in there. And so she just gets it over with. That's why her eyes are shut. And she, as this like pennies drop in there, then it's like before when I said personal development, like eating sandwiches, but we've got glad wrap on our mouth and it doesn't get through. It's like this wisdom is personal development from the inside out. That's personal development, healing. Like you learn what maybe we don't know. The ancestors who originally were in the very first ever situation that led to you now having the problem too, and it being in the family now, gets addressed. So, okay. And it was really in a lot of this research that I realised, oh my God, I actually myself had a wake-up call that I didn't know. I was on an ABC radio interview on one of my books, my personal story book, and she said, But what was the moment? And I'm like, oh my God, I wrote a whole book and I left the moment out. The moment, there was one, a wake-up call where time stands still. And in that moment, there's no sound. Your beliefs aren't back in your body yet. It's like a freeze moment, right? And you just see life with clarity and suddenly you're now motivated and you just change your life. A lot of people don't know they have one either, so they say it's because of what they did after that exact choice point moment, wake-up moment. Click through here. So, yeah, the hypotheses that really led to coming up with something that could be as radical as this is that the frontal lobe brain really, it's overrated, that our issues run deeper, that because we've got a uterus, we need to consider the bloodline. And you might say things like, but, you know, what about souls and all different past lives and all that? All of that is not, whether it's all real or not, we don't know. But what we do know is perception as a human is keeping a suffering as a definitely happening. And perception by someone else who may have had the same experience may not have seen it like you do. So that means that perception can fix whether it's spiritual, soul, anything, body, mind, anything. I'd really love some interaction. Do you know how hard it is to do one of these things and you're talking at a screen? So in the comments, I'd love if you could just share anything, any thoughts as I'm going along. And we're more powerful than we think. We're so freaking powerful that we could even do this, right? Heal ourselves. Doesn't matter. So everything at the end of the day doesn't matter, but you can't just walk in and tell people that, because the method's created on this and it works 100% of the time and it doesn't come back. And it's painless. And it's safe. Safer than anything. And it's built with all of that. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day, but it's quite revealing that it does work. That's what's really, really, really interesting. Okay? So Creatrix is like that wake-up call moment. A reperceiving, resolving, healing, complete, all that we are, whatever we are. I'm sure we'll find out more that we are that we don't know yet. Who do we think we are? Mere humans. And so that led to creating a bloodline healing method, but isn't a bloodline healing method, because that would be the wrong perception to have, because that's not understanding that we just needed to access the wisdom, and it's done within wherever it is coming from, and it's got to be done within this framework that would never harm itself, would never give itself, not the deep unconscious, will never. Its job is to protect you. It's not going to allow that. It's not going to allow anything negative. And it's important that the facilitators of this adhere to staying out of it, adhere to making sure they do it how it's made, so that we continue to get ridiculous results that no one could do. No one can do what we can do, that we've seen. We're certainly welcome to try and find out. That's right. They don't focus on the female side, Rebecca. And to be honest, they are still adamant, even epigeneticists. All research is done medicinally in labs, can I just say, as well. No one's looking for an organic way solution. But they don't consider that the incubator, why is it an incubator? Why would you call it just an incubator, even still? Like, hang on a second. Talk about undervalue the uterus and the power of a woman's body. Not saying each of us are almighty powerful and we're better than anything or anyone, I'm saying our design is extremely amazing, powerful, and deserves just at least respect for that. Because without that, there is no planet, life, people, on it. So we devaluing ourselves is a crime against ourselves, So let me tell you, the wake-up call elements that were needed to be in this are timelessness, observer-only mode with a belieflessness as well. Can't have beliefs. So the facilitator needs a butt out if she's got them, and she needs to address them, and we do in my program. All faculties are suspended, no filters at all. So faculties is all of what makes us beliefs, thoughts, values. Now, the biggest beliefs that are the biggest problem for women are not what they think they are. They are not just less than. There are many others, and they are hidden as virtuous, and they are assumptive. No one outside of self can teach in this method. You must butt out. So anyone just want to go and teach everything they know, our women are more concerned for the result of the other person. And it's easy to do that. And you can still teach a lot of what you know, because once they're cleaned out, they need to know things. But they need that first. Creatrix comes first. And I'll show you why in a minute. And a decision is made unlike any other. A decision comes just before it as well to change. And so this is why facilitators are taught about that, because it happens just before. If you don't decide that you're willing to do whatever it takes, like even if you changing, you might have got yourself in a situation where you tolerate people's shit. So those people might need addressing, some might walk away, you might have all new friends before long, things like that are more positive, more supportive. Some people can't be bothered because it's called secondary gain. Well, I better stay like this because, I'm on the NDIS, or he babysits, or someone babysits the mother-in-law, better stay with him then. Things like that. So we make sure that they will do whatever their gut tells them to do, because we're ripening that gut instinct. They're going to feel that even more, and that's what women want, isn't it? Because then you can let go of thoughts. You don't have to worry about keeping yourself safe. You can trust, and you learn again to truly tap in and listen to your own gut instinct, because it's already got you back. It's the not listening to it. Values realign, thinking shifts, and wisdom is realised. So even if sometimes it appears to be something you might have read in a book one day, you knew that book stuff was good. You knew what they said was good. But did it go in, be interpreted, convert to knowingness or not? And why not? Because your conscious mind read it and your unconscious mind resisted allowing it to change you, because you had all beliefs around it, assumptions and stuff that actually makes you dig your heels in and hang on to it. No, so that's its job, is to keep you the same of whatever you tell it you want through belief systems. And the reticulator activating part of the brain, which is it's called the RAS, it's assessing everything all the time. And out of 2 million bits of information you are literally exposed to every second, it's what decides, by you programming it, and maybe epigenetic or sort of programming, you can only notice, even at the best, 137 bits of that 2 million. So how then, what about the rest? There's a ton of possibility, but you'll never see it because you've so conditioned that you can only spot the 137 of them, and it selects them based on your belief system, what you allow as well as what you believe. And it breaks a cycle no matter where the cycle started. So you might say, well, I don't know where it started. I don't really see it much in my family. Well, it could skip generations. Who cares if it even started with you? The process works, so it doesn't matter. So the byproduct is you don't have your problems. Your perceptions change as a byproduct. You're not even in the story, but as a byproduct, you get the transformation. This is what is really happening. So the sustainable model for women, it's organic, it's natural, it fits us, it's just a wake-up call. It's it doesn't require experts who know brains, because the only brains they know is universal anyway. And who cares where it comes from? Who cares why they've got it? Everybody cares about that. And it's a process focused way. Instead of going around, what's the result? What do we need to happen? That's what's got to happen. How does that happen? How do we get lasting outcomes? No one's even asked the question. So solution is not part of why they do it. Symptom relieving is. We're cause changing, and even if we got that wrong, we still found how to not have the problem exist, so it doesn't matter. So what you don't want to do is go, how does this really work though? You're not making, well, you know what? It's not for everyone to know, because it makes no difference. And it's not understood. Your brain can't understand it. It doesn't fit. But it works, so why care about the wrong thing? Knowing how something works. That's the whole problem we've got on this planet. Why? How? What if it just works? It's just not there when you open your eyes. It's not there. So a lot happens. But it certainly feels like an equal balance of science and spirituality. It's like Creatrix is in the center, whereas almost everything is either that way or that way. It's either logical, conscious, sciencey, or it's airy-fairy, unconscious, but without the conscious. Like Creatrix involves, yes, whatever we're tapping into, but it's consciously recognized. So it's very nicely balanced.
It just works. It's incredibly effective. The safety that's built into it just blows me away. Maz, in one of her presentations, was talking about the word transformology and said, it's a silly made-up word, because I had a sort of knee-jerk reaction to that as well. Had a lot of reactions. But she said, psychology was a made-up word, and, one day transformology will be, the new word. And it's absolutely freaking right, because psychology is just about someone being an expert and having an academic kind of process and sitting there and being the expert over someone else's life. That's not the ideal way to do psychology, but it's what happens in a lot of therapy sessions. But transformology is about transformation, and it's giving the ownership of that to the client, which is best practice. It's gold standard best practice, and it's absolutely safe. So how can that not be the future? I feel myself getting emotional about that, because that's how it should be managed.
Understanding trauma doesn't make you better at not triggering trauma. Why this does not matter whether someone's been through hell or a small thing is because it works with 100% disassociation anyway, so it doesn't even matter. This is kind of the evidence we're getting, okay? So a woman comes in, extremely low self-esteem. We do Creatrix, and that's her after. So statistically, we did this on 86 women, worked on the same things to test. And then you have this one here, unsafe. I mean, how many women come and just feel unsafe? They can't explain it. Like, they really aren't unsafe, but they feel unsafe all the time, hypervigilant. That stuff is easy for us. Yes, look, I'll give you a copy, Rachel, of this. I'll send you a link tomorrow and you can watch it, okay?
Every time I listen to Maz speak and explain it, it's like, this is just so clever. Because I think coming from that NLP background, and the more that I learn about it, the more I go, wow, this is just so awesome. The safety measures that are built into it are just fantastic. I think for women, that safety and knowing that we're safe is like way up here.
So a couple of years ago, I experienced a situation that caused me to experience acute stress and left me feeling completely disconnected within myself, and also that I no longer felt I could be a part of the world. Completing the stress response reset has given me that reconnection within myself. And for someone that has spent decades doing the inner work and doing the inner journeying, to have this reconnection within myself has been the ultimate gift. My sense of purpose and my inner drive is now back to full power, and my intuition, now that has just become so crystal clear, and my responsiveness to it is also on point. I'll be forever grateful to Maz for gifting this to the world. And if Creatrix has crossed your path and you are wondering whether you should or you should not, trust yourself, and you'll be forever grateful that you did.
And is it a placebo? We often get accused of that. No, it's a placebo. Well, actually, the client does not have to believe it will work in any way, shape, or form. She can come in 100%, this won't even work. But if she just does what we say, even she's shocked. Absolutely blown away. So it's not a placebo. Interesting, isn't it? We as the facilitator better believe it, but we don't expect you to without going through it. You know, be the change, facilitate the change, and then create the change. Because what happens is they come into awareness, realise things, don't ever see it. Well, you can't sort of go back and see something away. You know what I mean? When you learn, like if you learn to tie a shoelace when you never knew how, then the old frustration of not knowing how to tie the shoelace. Where do you go to find that old frustration? It's not there. You've evolved. You know better.
I have to say that the feeling that I get when I'm creatrixing someone else, I'm so involved and so excited and listening and watching her face light up. It just is the most beautiful thing I've ever been able to do in my life.
My business has got up sky high, and it feels so good to feel confident and just knowing, feeling in my whole body that I'm worth it, and that I can achieve anything I want to.
I have been trapped for 2 years, sitting home doing nothing but research. And now I found all my solutions at the end. What a great gift.
I don't think that there could actually be any words that I could say to see those people. I know how much I hurt.
Yeah.
And to see those people in the same way as I was, and the fact that I did it, and then to see them move forward and feel so empowered, it's just unbelievable feeling.
For 9 months, I had client after client after client, and they all referrals. They're all referrals. So every client came to me and she referred a new one. So, and that's still going on now.
There's so many beautiful people out there that have hearts, and once they realise that they can help other women the way that we are every day, holy dooly, when this goes off, it's going to go off.
Everything that I need to run this business is available in the portal. You know, I ran a webinar with all of the stuff that was in the portal. It's so well laid out. It's phenomenal. Knowing that you have literally changed someone's life, and you send them out into the world and you go, just be. And it's wonderful.
And I want to tell every woman about that change can be possible for them as well.
Where everything comes from matters. Where everything comes from matters. If you want to write anything down, write that. Where everything comes from matters when you go about your life. So if you look here, I know, a bit primitive. I am going to get these done professionally and make them in a good order and make sure everything bloody works and whatever. But, right, so that's you in the middle, okay? Your central core, your empowerment, your no issues, insecurities, core central is matters. And I think you see so many people chasing lifestyle. That is very you, not others. Fine, you can do that, but if you want to get beyond yourself, you help more people because they're not you, they're others. So lifestyle chasing is very much about you. It's very me. There's nothing wrong with it unless you want to help more people and you want to leave a legacy and you want to break patterns for other people. So yeah, this is basically what has to happen first. So, the rest comes from that. So if you change and you care and you just care to reduce suffering through the tools you have rather than empower, because people need to heal before they can empower. We are the solution. That's what I believe. See, the difference between female and male brain, they look the same. But the actual material is slightly different because they've noticed that when you put the cortisols onto the female brain, it's like acid eating it away. So the female has to release oxytocin is the price she pays. That's sad. It's reality. Because we have to water down the stress hormones so that we don't self-destruct. And it gets all used up the wrong way. It was meant to be for massive spurts at birth. And you don't see that sometimes, do you? Why not? Oxytocin generator's tired, exhausted, used its resources. So, to turn love back on this whole planet would require healing the pain. And that can't be a bad thing. I do not know how it would ripple out and affect the men and the whole world, but it would. It has to. It's an alternative. Look at this. So if we can have you be as a healed heart, be in the moment, not be in your frontal lobe, just enjoying life, not overstressing, well-balanced, nervous systems recalibrated, emotion regulations back at its set point. Yeah, hormones will fire it off as the month. It's meant to, okay? Even menopause, all meant to happen. That's for another day. But when a woman is being in her most natural design, she is kind of led to what to do. And then if she does what aligns with her way, even maybe in her cycle, if she's still got a cycle going on as well, doing the activities required for the external, the internal, the all of the different things she's going through, then she gets to have a legacy, because we don't actually want for that much, do we? We don't want for things. So if we're being in a state of love, we're a love fucking generator and we're a love magnet. So getting in that love space is what I want to help women do. But it comes by healing their hearts, ladies, because guess what? All happens in us. So I've got to move quickly now. Everyone liking the sound of this so far? I mean, it's pretty big stuff, right? You can't just jump to it. It's too big information. It sounds like you're just corny, and it sounds like you're just trying to sell the impossible. If you feel you're born to change lives, like you can't explain it, but you got that sense, right? It doesn't matter where you come from. No judgment here. We don't do that here. Where you come from doesn't matter. Your morality matters, because you could do this out of integrity. So I guard it with my life, because we want women. I want you to be successful. I want the people you help to be successful, and I want Creatrix to last beyond us. So if you want 100% results, 100% of the time, with 100% of the women, you run through my screening method and then do it, you'll be able to even offer a guarantee. You'll be able to, you know, depression, anxiety, and PTSD, they're nothing for us. If you want safety and outcomes, they have to be a high priorities to you. Otherwise, you won't, you know, do your best. And you've got to be accountable for what you are doing. We don't have expectations, like you don't have to work this. You can just do it for personal development and whatever, but also then be able to facilitate it. Because for me to be involved, give you all of that time and everything like that while trying to grow this, I do ask that people just simply have some intention to help other people. That way I make sure that I've got the right people around me. So humble heart, humility, integrity, open mind, all really important to me. And you want to empower yourself and others in a deep and lasting way, not just band-aiding, right? Because you can band-aid, you can go and do cheap courses, you can learn you can get them from my books, but they don't stick. They are temporary, and that was why I created this. If you want to be a walking role model, you want to be the change first. So includes your transformation, healing and empowering others, and creating a legacy. So our values are make the world a better place. Win, 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 win. Morality over integrity, more harmonious relationships, quality over quantity, safety comes first, keeping it simple, as simple as it can be. Females are the solution. So you do see that your work is, right, we're going the right direction, and that you are willing to face any sabotaging stuff you've got, that we can help you, because we just Creatrix it here. We don't take anything personally, and we don't expect perfection, because we're going to be there to make you look good and be able to make those claims. So you jump straight to specialists. You don't enter here as a coach. We don't coach, we transform. So we're looking for women with hearts who deeply care about the same stuff we do. We want to contribute to a better world. We have one standard no matter where you are in the world. So 5 months of first certificate. This is Erna. I've watched her on social media. Look at that. Always photos of her feet. So because she runs a business from her, she's living her absolute dream. That's her camper van, and she wakes up and she just tells us who she's helped to feel worthy today. She doesn't say the names, but she says what I've done, and yeah, she travels around Europe. That's her little office there in a camper van. You know, it's possible to create your own reality. She has a partner and everything. Don't just straight away think that she doesn't. She actually does. She chooses to go alone and go out for a few months at a time, and that. I even tried it. I tried it myself. I'm like, ooh, what I've been able to do it's totally up to me what I do. So is personal development and entitlement all right? No, it's not. No one owes you anything. No one owes women anything, because women don't even, a very small percentage will ever show up to their third, fourth, or fifth free session. So this here is the two problems women have, and that is martyrdom and people pleasing in this industry. So they come and go, I'm not charging anyone money. I really am Mother Teresa. But also then with accumulated resentment for the people who might take advantage of that. So there's a balance. Virtuous beliefs you need to know that are sabotaging, and that's what I love to teach women. We overdo the maternal. The kids are grown. They're alive. They're kicking. They're good. So we don't need to keep doing that. So in a 5-year period, you know, the amount we'll spend on our own personal development, added up, just to feel confident, but it doesn't last, is thousands of dollars. This here, basically, the real problem is, though, is we need to gain wisdom, because basically humans, with all of the stuff women go through as little girls and all of the stuff, is we actually come out of our cocoon too quickly. And in that moment, we're meant to come from unconscious learning. We come into conscious freeze and we assess incorrectly. So we get our right, wrong, good, bad, appropriate consequence, cause and effect all out of whack. So everything means we're a bad person, all this stuff. So recalibrating this is really what we're doing. Money, women are so scared of it, or they hate it, or there's all issues they have, but they don't realise they're just beliefs. Money's not anything. It's not anything. You will see the character of the person when they get a lot. That's true. But money itself, there's a lot of very wealthy people that are very beautiful souls. A lot of people don't know this because we're taught to point up at the hill. Well, guess what? You know, they don't think the same. And if they're good or bad is no different to anywhere else. It's true, but it's very hard because we've got all of these things that money is evil, the root of it. You know, we owe, if it's emotions, then it's different. But if I start a shoe shop, I'm allowed to make millions because I won't be judged on my intent, but I will if it's to do with emotional suffering. So women play on that.
I have made more money in the last 12 months than I have in the last 10 years, almost back to back. It's just, it's incredible. And all of it has come from this one modality that has allowed me to make a massive impact on women's lives exponentially as well. So the income and the business is just kind of this follow-on thing that happens because of the one goal to make a difference to a woman's life.
You could be making $50,000 a year. You could be making $100,000 a year. That's up to you, whatever you do. I'll certainly give you all the ways to do it if you listen, but you might want to do it your way. Who does that? Most 5-star referrals through training or course running institutes, whatever. So this is as complex as this is. There are 4 ologies. There's a methodology. Yes, that's all you've heard about, but there's a systemology to learn. There's the ecology of not understanding ripple effect and win-win wins and what can happen, and you need to understand that. And there's the psychology as well of women and the psychology of lasting change in women. These are all the things we spend on that are all included in my program. It goes on. It's all business. It's got 29 years of business success from me, and you get all my tools. That's what I give transformologists or Creatrix facilitators for helping the cause, because that's not what they're licensing Creatrix, but they get everything. They get me all the time too. So this spreads easily by sharing, because women, just as what women do naturally. So it's not that hard to grow a business like you might think to get it out. Also, if you get us any speaking gigs or anywhere where women of influence, you know, that need to know this and may help us roll this out, or you bring us facilitators, I will pay you well for that, because we need to get this out there. So anyone that helps us get this to get more facilitators. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. I hope you got lots of learning. I'd really love to know what you learnt. Feel free to share it with us. All right. Bye, everybody.